Hello there. In this video, I want to give you an overview of GRPC with Spring Boot. So basically, we have three projects. One is the proto project, which is the base or common project, which contains the proto files and its stubs. The other is the server, which is a Spring Boot application, and client, which is also a Spring Boot application. And this Hello Proto is a Maven project only. Now, to start with, you can go to this link. It has the steps on how to make a Maven project GRPC compliant or convert it to GRPC. This is my project, which is on the right hand side, Hello Proto, and number one. So we don't need the default Java or test folders, but we need to create a proto folder under main, and that is where we put our proto files. Now, the first thing is you need to have a protobuf version or grpc version in the properties so that you can easily use them as a placeholders here. Okay, instead of changing them every time, you can simply have it here. Now, likewise, I have a different set of versions. So that's the reason is I'm using the latest Spring Boot, and that comes up with these versions. And if I have a different version like this older version or something, then I may get problem between my server and this proto. So it is important to maintain the version compatibility or use the same version everywhere in all the three projects. So what we need, we have dependency management, just because to maintain all the versions, and this is created or supplied by Maven Quick Start by default, so out of the box. Now coming to the main dependencies, we need protobuf, as you see here, net is shaded here, protobuf and stub and javax annotation. So this is all good. These are the dependencies we need. And JUnit Jupyter and JUnit params is by default supplied by the Maven Quick Start, so I'm leaving them as it is. Now, build, we are going to add an extension which is mentioned here. What we just need to do is we need to replace this code as it is here. I mean, this plugin should be put as it is into this after the extension, and it will do the job of creating the stubs. Once we are done, if we have created a proto file like this, as you see, I create services, or I first define the services, which is simple. So when you package this, it creates simple grpc, so which I'll show you there. And inside that we are defining, this is the function, our procedure function we have. It's called greeting. It takes a request and it returns a reply, and this request and reply are two messages we have. um, at the moment we have only one attribute. If you have more than one attribute, you have to add that by the type, if it is optional or not, and give a different number, I mean the next number. So if name is one, the next is going to be number two, and if you have more, three, four, five kind of. Okay, so that is common. We are using proto 3 model, and once we build this project, it is going to create some generated sources, and this is how it looks. We will get the reply and the request and the simple grpc. So if you have changed this to hello, for example, you will get hello grpc. So that's the thing, significance of service and this. Now that's where this project ends. And what we do at the end is we install this. When we install this, it will put in our local maven repository for use by the client and server. Now let's shift to the server. Okay, How we start this project is using Spring Starter, create a brand new application with Maven or Gradle, whatever your preference is, the build tool, and no dependencies, no web or nothing, just simple uh, skeleton. And yeah, so that is the starting point. And the next step is adding the required dependencies for the server side. So the first and foremost thing we need is, of course, we add the proto dependency. And the main thing is this dependency, which is grpc server spring boot starter. So this is server, that is the difference. So when you go to the client side, will not have the server word. Yeah. It is spring grpc spring boot starter, but whereas on the server side is grpc server spring boot starter. Now rest of the dependencies, yeah, you add nitty, you have javax annotations, and this is a default spring boot starter test. And we need to add these extensions for os maven plugin. And this, I think we have the source, which is, yeah, which is this tutorial. So if you go to this tutorial, um, there is a mention of where that github is, so please go and check it. Now coming back to the source, on the server side, this is pretty much available, I have to say. Whatever plugin you have to add, make sure that your version numbers are matching with the proto. Now what we do here is we create an implementation for the service we defined, which is that simple one. So I named it as greeting service. I am Bill. We are annotating with grpc service, and it is going to extend simple grpc dot simple impl base. And you can find this in the jar we added, so it's easy to identify. And as I told you, because the service name is simple, it is simple grpc. If it is hello, it is hello grpc. And we are going to override the greeting method. And when you add, right click and add override, uh, it generates this particular signature. And we are going to implement it wherein we want to create a reply, and that reply is based on the request object. And once that is available, then we are going to do on next, send that reply, and then we are saying it's complete. So this is how the service is going to respond to any request. And we have nothing um, in the application properties. So that's it. Now let's shift to the client side. So on the client side, again, we need that proto definition. So we add that proto file jar, and the rest is the same. This is not a server, so we don't need to add all those extra plugins and stuff. We just leave everything as is. Application properties side. So you can give any name here, and that we have to use in the client code. I'll show you there. So the address, we're going to talk to that server, which is running at 9090 by default. And we are saying the negotiation type is plain text. Now coming to the client. So we are doing implementing a service, which is the spring boot stereotype. And here is the name we are using from the property file. So if it is hello service, we use the hello service here. So in that way, this grpc client is looking for the service. Okay, I'm using a blocking step, not async, yeah, for this example. And we are writing a method hello client. Just think like it takes a name, and we're going to make a request or construct a request object using the builder pattern. We are sending some name, and after that, using the stub, we are invoking that greeting method that is on the server side, the remote processor, and passing the request object, and will be getting the hello reply as a response. And if we check what is the message, we'll get back the response on this get method. And anything else? Okay, so the way we invoke, yeah, is in that Spring Boot application. We have the post construct, and here I'm auto wiring the service client and calling the method that we just created there and passing grpc. So this could be dynamic, any name can be passed. Now let's kick off the server. As you see, it starts on the port 9090, and let's start the client. So this is where whatever name we have given has gone to the service, and we got the response back. Say I stop this and make a change and then start. It will make a trip to the server and comes back with that. Now, okay, so whatever change we did on the server is reflecting on the client, and this is how protobufs are used in the grpc spring boot. Thank you.